Hello, probers.
Howdy, howdy.
Welcome to But It Was Aliens, the extraterrestrial comedy podcast brought to you by two former MIBs. Each week, we take it in turns to bring you the truth about the extraterrestrial. Sitting opposite me with no idea what we're about to cover is the grey one, Kevin the Grey. Rumour has it that he is so tall
I thought we were past this.
that he could flick the stars out of the sky. But he doesn't, because he is a gentle soul, a trustworthy and honest soul. After all, he is a John. I am your host this week, Granny Moonwalker.
I like how you get the boxing / wrestler-esque introduction, and I get...
The Stig.
Yeah.
Kevin the Stig.
I get poked. You should be careful when you poke a bear.
Is that a threat?
Absolutely not. I don't want to be bear hugged.
I think we should have our own factions as probers. It could be the giants versus the street grannies.
The only problem being that we don't have a giant to lead the giants.
Yeah, we do.
What the hell am I looking at in the research notes? What?
That's you in giant form.
Oh! That looks like if Jesus
You
was a
in giant
caveman holding the heads of two mini Jesus cavemen.
Normal sized people.
Is this relevant to the probe or are you just having fun?
Just having fun. Giants versus street grannies, son.
Okay, I'm expecting a street granny as I turn the page. Yep. Oh my gosh, that is a G granny. Damn. Granny's packing heat.
Goes vicious.
You're showing me a Polaroid of a granny with a G-Tech.
With a Glock.
Yeah. What was that, Smith & Wesson?
Isn't it Wesson?
Yeah, it is. I always do that. And another granny throwing up the W, West Side, with a knife.
That's a proper knife. That's a Arnie style knife, that is.
Yeah, grannies be vicious.
Indeed.
I don't fancy the chances of the giants. Giants are peaceful creatures. Haven't you seen the BFG?
Isn't he the one that went round terrorising everyone and eating children from their beds?
Eating their dreams. Their nightmares.
Them.
I don't think he ate... Usually it's me who hasn't seen the children's films.
I think he did.
I must have watched a different one then.
He was cool.
I go back and watch it and the BFG is eating children.
Yeah. He used to swan in to the street with his little magic cape that allowed him to walk in the air. And he would pluck children out of their beds at night and gobble them up.
But then what was he doing carrying that other little kid on his back?
As a witness.
Why did he need a witness? Surely he wanted to eradicate the witnesses.
You always leave one to tell the tale.
Why would he want the tale told?
To strike fear.
Why does he want fear?
Because he's
So very unnecessary.
the ironically named Big Friendly Giant.
Big effing giant.
All that. Well, today's probe, we are heading to the US of A.
America!
Fuck yeah! We don't know the exact date, but that's not important.
Here we go. We don't know the time. Also not important.
It's March, but that's not important.
Yeah. There were people there. Who they were? Not important.
It's 1979, but that's not important.
Yeah, I see a theme.
It's 3 a.m. in the morning,
But it's not
and
important.
that's allegedly truthfully important.
Oh.
Pat Eudy, a 46-year-old who was driving home from Monroe. Pat had spent the evening with a friend in the town of Locust.
For the Queen!
Pat was just got what you meant there.
Took a minute.
Pat was driving home, but Pat was driving home under the influence.
That's not a good way to drive, is it now?
You could say Pat had knocked back 2 beers that evening,
Is that over the limit?
but we don't know. Pat was approaching Rocky River Bridge
Adrian!
when he looked up at the stars. This was something that he would allegedly do every time he drove towards it.
As you would.
But this time was different. This time there was a bright light in the sky. A bright light in the sky which wasn't the moon. Next thing Pat knew, he was driving towards one of the local shops and it was 6:20 in the morning.
Lost time, baby.
Indeed.
I think I know what's happened there. Pat has been slabbed and probed.
Speaking of Pats,
I was going to ask you a question actually before you go on to your thought.
Go ahead.
So 79, so it's possible Pat Eudy 46. It's possible Pat is still alive, but possibly not. If they are, and you messaged them, do you think, if you were to find them on social media and message them, do you think they'd respond or block you?
considering my record with Pats, I'm getting blocked.
What was your thought you were about to share, sir?
I was about to ask, do you reckon I am still blocked by said Pat?
Said UFC fighter, Pat.
Mr. Pat Barry.
Pat Barry.
So, for those of you that aren't in the know, I once
That's everyone apart from me.
Pat Barry in the, was it popular then? In the first ever EA Sports UFC game.
Yeah. Popular enough to make a second.
Yep. Were we doing random fighters then? Anyway, doesn't matter. Every now and again, I would use Pat Barry.
You'd hit the random button 5 times, whoever it landed on, you had to pick.
And I'd get Pat Barry. And every time I got Pat Barry, I lost. So
He had no chin.
I asked the logical question to a Mr. Pat Barry on Instagram. Why have they made you so shit on EA Sports? I asked the question because apparently he's a legitimate fighter that is getting wins. So I wanted to know why they made him shit in the game. And then I was blocked.
And this is the early days of social media where you could actually get people and not their receptionists and admin staff and whatnot.
So blocked for championing Pat Barry and asking the legit question why EA Sports made him shit.
I mean, granted, you could have messaged EA Sports that same question, looked up who the developers were and found them on social media. But Pat Barry should know. He signed that contract. To be fair, he probably didn't. I'd imagine Dana, UFC owner, would have, yeah.
Either way, I'm blocked by Pat Barry.
To this day, because you checked that a couple of months ago. As
Pat
of late
Barry.
2023, you were certainly blocked by Pat Barry.
Barry!
And that's the sound we used to make when Pat Barry would hit the deck, usually from a gut punch. I'm shitting! I made Pat Barry shit. Many a times. Many a time.
Hi, Pat.
Shout out to Pat Barry. So, we should probably talk about the case, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we probably should. Back to other Pat.
3 a.m, then 6:20 a.m. Boom. So we've lost 3 hours, roughly.
I love the fact that you put roughly them.
Well, because we don't... He looked at the time and it was 6:20, but we don't know it's bang on 3 a.m.
Exactly.
And I was thinking, he saw it's 3 a.m, he kept on driving, and then this happened.
That's precisely why I said I love the fact you put that in.
It's precisely roughly 3 hours that we have lost.
I wasn't being pedantic.
2 beers losing 3 hours doesn't add up, so I'm ruling out the being hammered, unless there were more than 2 beers and other substances at play.
The journey from his friends to his home is 8 miles.
Fine work.
8 miles.
And you could say on that journey, he lost himself in the music the moment he owned it. He never let it go. He only had one shot.
Might have had more. 8 miles.
He might have received more.
Should not have taken over 3 hours. What's more grey nuts, he had no memory of it.
Did he fall asleep? Yeah, I'm feeling a slabbing here. Slabbing pretty hard. Slabbing the bass.
Slabbing the bass. It would be days.
Pat Barry! Sorry, been dying to do that. Had to get out of my system, couldn't hold it in.
Pat would sit on this for
Flashing back every time
days.
I say Pat, I'm so sorry. I'm just seeing those gut punches landing and Pat Barry squirming on the floor. Those were the days.
After several... he made me lose it. It would be days. Pat would sit on this for days. And after several days, did his memory return? No, it didn't.
Need some regression.
This became a huge worry for Pat. So he decided to get the help of some professionals. 2 years later, he wrote to a civilian UFO research center in Ohio.
Interesting. Gave it 2 years.
UFO investigator Henry Morton was asked to interview Pat, and after speaking with him, he suggested speaking with Richard Pinot. Pat would get in contact with Richard Pinot, a renowned psychologist, allegedly.
Is that allegedly or allegedly truthfully?
Truthfully. Pat's memories would start to come flooding back about that fateful morning. You see, he didn't just see the bright light up in the sky. The bright light would start coming towards him.
Uh-oh.
It's coming right for us!
Fan out their numbers! Fan out their numbers. So... bright light coming towards him. Could be a meteor. Could be UFO. Could be a meteor.
Could be. It is a UFO.
Well, you haven't given me any more details as yet. Well, I suppose if he doesn't know what it is, then it is UFO to him.
Slapped.
Right. What did you say? You said Pat would sit on this for days. Mm-hmm. In my mind, I heard Pat would shit on this for days, and I rolled back to UFC again because Pat did shit on that for days.
UFC fighter Pat Barry.
I'm just going to add in here that today I have had 3 coffees and a rum and no food. Hello! I took the dog out for a nice long walk to wear him out so he doesn't interrupt us too much whilst we record, because he's an angry teenager at the moment and barks at everyone that walks past the house. I have not eaten.
I have also not eaten and have been up since 4 o'clock this morning.
You're a crazy man.
Have been to work.
Have you had protein?
No.
What? Yes, you have.
I haven't. I'm about a can of Monster.
And you snorted some protein. Gets into your system quicker.
Before he knew it, Pat was on a strange ship.
Now it's a UFO.
Not just any ship, but a UFO.
Called it.
Aboard this ship was a being 5 foot in stature, so it couldn't have been you, Greybeard. What's up?
It's tall.
The being was wearing a metallic-like suit, similar style to that of an astronaut. Pat couldn't make out their face as it was covered by a visor of some kind. This being didn't speak to Pat, but just seemed to carry on with what it was doing.
Didn't mean to call him up and he was just acting like nothing happened, thinking, if I ignore him, he'll go away. Oh, shit. In, like, music videos and cinema in, the 90s and 2000s, earlies, loads of folks had visors on, like that was going to be the future.
They did.
What happened to that? Why don't no one wear a visor?
The future.
Looks so cool and futuristic.
Do you mean similar to Apple's new goggles?
No. Those things, like, if you can afford them, then cool for you, but you're never going to use those above sitting at a computer to write your work and whatnot, are you? It's novel for a couple of minutes, but I just can't see that ever taking off as like a workspace. And you get like motion sickness or whatever some people do wearing those glasses as well.
It's like I understand why they're doing it, like pushing that kind of technology. Like everything's a test and we're all guinea pigs. But at the same time, people look like fucking idiots with those on.
So I think that VR headsets will not have their place. And I think it should be things for like, what I think would be brilliant is virtual tours. So to be able to go places and walk around them in VR would be wonderful for people who can't actually do it.
Like museums and stuff.
Yes, exactly that. And like heritage sites and all that kind of thing. Art galleries, phenomenal use.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in terms of doing your 9 till 5, writing Word documents, Excel spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff, I just can't ever see you sitting there with a couple of sticks in your hands, wiggling around to find productivity there. Yeah.
So I studied art at high school.
Some might say that I did too. Others would strongly disagree.
What would have been amazing is to have had a VAR. What would have been amazing was to have a VR headset and be able to go, like you said, like walk around these different museums. My artwork could have been amazing with that type of device. Instead, I failed art because I didn't have enough written work.
So if we combined, we'd make the ultimate being.
I was rebellious in my art days. Fuck am I writing for? This is art. Give me a pen.
Whereas I was like, what the frick are you giving me paint for? I'm a writer. Give me a pen.
I found some of my old art books the other day.
Cool. I haven't added anything to them, have I? Little men in pants.
These are my proper art books.
Okay. Side topic.
What? Apart from the side topic we're already on.
Well, yeah.
Sidebar to the sidebar.
I'm riding my Segway right now. My partner's brother-in-law's brother is an artist and did create like an online gallery of sorts in VR, apparently. I've not seen it, but
cool.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. So it's obviously doable.
Does sound amazing.
We could make I was going to say probe towers, extraterrestrial towers. We don't want to call it probe towers. People will get the wrong idea and put all our random artwork and things we received from listeners and whatnot into a virtual space.
Like a probe gallery.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for. Make it a big extraterrestrial teepee full of our artwork. Your artwork.
Mostly yours.
Art is a stretch.
Pat looked around the room. It was brightly lit, so he was able to see clearly. And it had a series of screens, buttons, and dials, not unlike an aircraft.
What's he doing in the cockpit?
This prompted Pat to ask the being how it all worked. But the being just ignored him and continued with what it was doing.
It tickles me.
A few moments would pass, and Pat was just hanging around, unsure of whether he should move or say something. It wouldn't be long before the being would lead him into another room on the ship. This one wasn't as brightly lit as the first.
Romantic lighting.
Pat was then placed in a chair and strapped down.
Romance.
Pat knew instantly that this wasn't good, and his levels of fear went through the roof. The being started putting Pat through some form of examination.
What kind of examination, may I inquire?
Probably samples and samples.
Were there any long metallic devices?
There may have been, but I don't know if he was probed that way.
We know.
Pat believes that blood samples were taken from him, as after the examinations he felt pain in his fingers and ankles and also discomfort in his eyes. His skin also had a tingling sensation to it, akin to pins and needles, and would constantly itch.
It makes sense to me that were there to be extraterrestrial visitors, they would be interested in how our eyes work. I think, how do they sense the world around them? How do they get busy? They're the two things that you're wondering, aren't they? First two things you're thinking of. If you see an animal, where's its eyes? Where's its genitals?
Definitely where are the eyes. Not too fussed about genitals.
When you look at a worm, it's very confusing. Is that just one big genital? Where are the eyes? Why does it have any eyes? Do worms have dicks? That's a question for the end of an episode. Do worms have dicks? Clearly, I've never studied worms. What about slugs? Ugh, grim little bastards.
For some reason, is it mitosis?
Myxomatosis.
No, where they kind of just split off.
Oh, sorry. Right.
Is that it?
I've got no idea.
Because I'm just imagining a worm doing that.
That's when you cut them in two. You were a vicious child. You should seek help for that.
I never cut worms in two.
You chopped them with your bare fist. You're now wondering if you did.
Yeah, I am.
The fact you're wondering, you definitely did.
I think I might have done. Probably.
I mean, to be fair, kids experiment.
Yeah. I mean, in my 6, 7-year-old phase, worms in the garden, see what happens.
I used to, at my grandfather's, collect snails from his garden and try to race them. They never moved very fast and it always frustrated me, but I kept on trying. Put them all in a line. Come on! Come on! Nothing. They've got no competitive spirit, those bastards. Pins? Sorry, you going to say something?
I think we've had this conversation before, but how we as humans can jump from a step, for example, and hurt ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We are bigger than the step, yet it still hurts us.
Right.
Have you ever thrown a worm in the air? Think of that landing. That's essentially like jumping from a building.
For the worm.
How much must that hurt?
Well, they're soft and squishy, aren't they? So I don't know.
Yeah, but
and they also don't weigh a lot. It's
I
haven't got much of a mass to
hitting the floor. Is it? I remember jumping out of a window when I was a kid.
Why would you do that?
Because I was a kid.
Yeah, but I was a kid and I wasn't trying to hurt myself.
I was a little daredevil. We had
Evil Genevieve.
Above the front door was one of the a little porch thingy.
Yep.
And then you had the upstairs landing window.
Yeah.
And I launched from that window.
The fact you said launched rather than jumped disturbs me straight away.
Because I cleared the
You took a run up.
door thing. I stood on the windowsill and then just launched myself from that point onto the grass below.
How many legs did you
90s parkour.
Parkour!
I didn't. I just landed and rolled and was
If you did that today, you would break bones.
Oh, I'm breaking everything. I am a heavy boy. That's hurting.
Skin had a tingling sensation, you said, about Pat Berry.
Akin to pins and needles.
Had the alien pissed on him?
Not that we're aware of.
What would make your entire skin tingle other than an allergy to your washing up powder? Radiation?
Pins and needles.
Radiation? Oh shit. Are we going to see some radiation related activity?
Are we?
I don't know.
Pat Perry.
In my mind, this is Pat Barry now. It's not Pat Eudy at all.
Pat doesn't remember walking through any doors or even entering the craft. He just remembers being there.
That never occurred to me at all. How did he actually get on the craft? He was just in the room,
just there.
In the cockpit with an alien who was pretending he wasn't there to hope it goes away.
We have covered before instances where vehicles themselves have been taken up into the craft along with the abductee, and it could have been similar here. Pat thinks that when they took him, they took his car too, and using some form of magnetism, when they finished the examination, they dropped him somewhere else, as he has no recollection of driving over the bridge, entering the UFO, or leaving it. This is all Pat knows. The sessions with Richard didn't uncover anything more But he believes that it was beneficial for him to go through it and recall what he did so that he knows he didn't imagine or dream what happened to him.
And this guy wasn't given like an alcohol test at the time, was he? Because he wasn't picked up by the police or anything.
Nope.
So when he said he had 2 beers, is that like what someone might tell their spouse? I only had 2 beers. Honest. I don't know what happened.
That is a possibility.
Someone spiked me. Definitely didn't have 6 Ray nephews. Do we know much about Pat as a person outside of this event? Were they into illicit substances at all? What kind of work did they engage within?
We're about to find out.
Oh, okay.
Pat hasn't told many people about his experience due to the job that he had at the time.
Oh.
He had himself and a mother to provide for, and he didn't want his job to be affected and to have to defend his beliefs about the existence of UFOs.
Was that his mother or just a random mother
His
that
mother.
he decided he was going to provide for?
So this is the part of the probe where we turn to science and skepticism.
Whoa, you didn't tell me what he does for work at all.
He's a salesman.
Okay. What kind?
I thought I put it in, but I didn't.
What does he sell? Substances? Did you just say dildos?
No.
You did,
I
didn't you?
didn't.
You better not cut that so I can hear it. Was he a dildo salesman?
I don't know. Where did you get dildos from?
Well, I was literally just, that's where my mind's just gone. Before you had like sex shops and whatnot, where did you get sex toys from? Did they come from salesmen or did they just not exist and shops brought them into existence and before people just used like vegetables or the TV remote and whatnot?
Weren't they always just shops? Like the seedy little
On the side of a
roadside?
rundown road.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been in one of those, to be honest.
Neither have I.
Maybe we should go on a little...
Were you about to say go on a date?
A little adventure is what I was going to say, word for word. But you can call it a date if you like. I wasn't going to put a label on it. I mean, call it what you want.
You want to go
if you want to hold hands, that's fine.
You want to go dildo shopping?
Well, not necessarily shopping, unless you want to try one.
No, I'm good.
But just to see what the vibe is there, you know? See if there's any cool stuff. Learn how things work. You know, maybe we'll try a thing out. I don't know. Maybe. Do you know where any are?
We have one in our town.
You're a customer, aren't you?
No, it's a Ann Summers.
Oh, I know we've got one of those in town.
Oh,
but most towns have those. I mean, like the dirty type that you drive past going like 70 miles per hour and it just captures that little glimpse of the nurse's outfit in the window as you go past.
There was one somewhere. I cannot remember. But then I don't know if that was just, I want to say a sex shop, but that's not what I mean. Cleopatra's was. I don't know if it was one of them.
Okay, I know what you mean.
So this is the part of the probe where we turn to science and skepticism. The science...
I've never been in there either, but I know someone who has.
Do we both?
Yes.
I thought he had. Beer plus late night equals potential madness. Skepticism. Beer plus late night equals potential madness. We have the report that he drank beer but was okay to drive home. Was he really okay to drive home? Was he okay to walk to the car and then he passed out at the wheel? We have all had moments sat on the sofa or walking home where you either black out, fall asleep, or just have no recollection of where you are or what's going on. So, to summarise, we have the case of Pat Eudy.
Harry.
46-year-old who was travelling home after having a few beers at his friend's in the early morning. By early morning, I mean 3 a.m.
Damn.
Witching hour. Pat was driving home when he came to a familiar bridge. When he would normally get to the bridge, he would look up at the stars. Which he did, but this time he didn't just see the stars, he saw something else. A bright light in the sky. As he sat staring at the light, it started to move towards him. Next thing he knew, he was in a spaceship.
That's the most bonkers bit, and we've barely even touched it, have we?
Confused by his new surroundings, he was confused even further when he saw a being in a spacesuit. This being said nothing to him, but continued about its business.
Man, your business.
After a short while, the being led him to another room. This room was dark, and he was put into what looked like a doctor's chair and strapped down. He was examined in some way, and Pat believed that the being had taken some blood samples. Pat then woke up behind the wheel of his car 3 hours later near some local shops. He suffered afterwards with skin tingles, pain in his hands, and discomfort in his eyes.
That could be radiation symptoms, yeah.
He would then seek help and get put in touch with Big Rich, who would help him uncover the information that we've just gone through. Although he knows nothing more, Pat is happy that he knows what he knows and wasn't going crazy. So, Greybeard, I ask you, I'll put it to you, do you believe that this is a case of alien abduction, or drunken dreams?
I put it to you that Pat was tripping balls. We don't... Where was this? What's the source?
Pat?
Yeah, but who did he speak to?
I don't know.
Was it the UFO researcher person who did the experiment? Did they write a book of all the people they'd interviewed and whatnot? Yeah, well, my conclusion remains the same. Pat is tripping balls. All I'm trying to work out is whether Pat exists or whether Pat is a created character in a book of created characters to evidence someone's illustrious UFO and alien interview / hypnosis career.
Quite possible. I came to 2 conclusions. One, that this person doesn't exist, and this whole story is a fabrication.
Yep.
And the second one is that Pat does exist. This did happen in a drunken dream.
Yeah.
A drunken stupor. 3 a.m. in the morning, you're driving home after having several beers.
Only 2.
Only 2? What time did you start drinking?
Yeah.
All right. 2 beers can go down in 20 minutes.
Yeah, in one podcast episode.
Yep. So this was drunken dreams for me.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree. It's one of those cases where there's not any substantive evidence to back up the claims. If someone's gone through these sorts of processes, seen professionals in the field, you'd expect to see a little bit more evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you wake up and think, oh, actually, no, he didn't remember at first, did he? And he spent 2 years wondering. Yeah, okay, I was going to say, why didn't you go to the police? But if you didn't remember, then that makes that relevant. So I take that bit back. But still, tripping balls.
Thank you for joining us for this week's probe. As always, you can find us on all socials at But It Was Aliens. That's Facebook, Instagram, on the Twitter.
Oh, the Twitter!
X. And we have our Facebook group.
Damn it.
And if you would like to hear more from outside of the extraterrestrial, we have side probes at patreon.com/But It Was Aliens, where we probe pirates, ghost dogs, peggers, reincarnation, and Rasputin's dick.
Dear.
As always, I have been Moonwalker, and he has been Greybeard. Remember, the truth is up there. Hashtag.
Whew.